Jesus is the King, ruler over everything. Jesus is the one, promised one, the Son of God. Jesus is the Lord, He's the one you can't ignore. Jesus, Jesus, He is the King. He is the King. He commanded the fishermen, hey, come follow me. And they did, and they did, and they did, because Jesus is the King, ruler over everything. Jesus is the one, promised one, the Son of God. Jesus is the Lord, He's the one you can't ignore. Jesus, Jesus, He is the King. He is the King. He commanded the evil ones, hey, come out of him. And they did, and they did, and they did, because Jesus is the King, ruler over everything. Jesus is the one, promised one, the Son of God. Jesus is the Lord, He's the one you can't ignore. Jesus, Jesus, He is the King. He is the King. He commanded the wind and waves, hey, be still, be still. And they did, and they did, and they did, because Jesus is the King, ruler over everything. Jesus is the one, promised one, the Son of God. Jesus is the Lord, He's the one you can't ignore. Jesus, Jesus, He is the King. He is the King. He promised that 3 days after death He'd rise again. And He did, and He did, and He did, because Jesus is the King, ruler over everything. Jesus is the one, promised one, the Son of God. Jesus is the Lord, He's the one you can't ignore. Jesus, Jesus, He is the Jesus is the King, ruler over everything. Jesus is the one, promised one, the Son of God. Jesus is the Lord, He's the one you can't ignore. Jesus, Jesus, He is the King. He is the King. He is the King.
Jesus has always lived. The Bible tells us He lived in heaven before He came to earth. He lived in heaven with God, His Father, forever and ever. Then He came to earth to help us. Wow. Oh, hey boys and girls, how you doing? Welcome back to Discoverers at Home, and we're on episode 2 already. Just checking up on a few things. Great book, Everything a Child Should Know About God. And we're going through, the 5 P's of the Christian faith over these next few weeks, aren't we? We've already had 1 week, and that was last week. Can you remember the P? That was back then. The stuff that made my hair stand on end, ish. But it was P for power, wasn't it? And we saw how powerful God is through creation and through other things, and just what an amazing God He is. And so this week, not power, next P, but we've got the person, and we're going to be looking at Jesus and who He is, what kind of things He did, and things like that. So really excited about that. Got a quiz for you in a little bit as well, and you can do that, see how many points you get at home. And we've got Dench time, we've got Dennis time, and songs as well. So thank you for joining us, and let's get on and get in and carry on with today's programme.
Boys and girls, welcome back to Dennis time. And this week in Dennis time, I want us to start by thinking about this. What do these 3 Bible stories all have in common? And what do they teach us about God? Okay, so 3 quick-fire Bible stories. The first one is this, and it's about creation. And when God made the world, or at the beginning of day 3, the world was covered with water. But just by speaking, God moved all the water back and moved land up to the surface, and He created land. That's our first quick-fire Bible story, how God spoke, moved water, and created land. The second one is this. It's on the day when the Israelites were escaping from Egypt. And as they're escaping, they had chariots charging up behind them. You can imagine, Egyptians trying to capture them. And they get to the edge of the Red Sea. What are they going to do? They've got the sea in front of them. They've got Egyptians coming up behind them. What are they going to do? Well, this is what happens. God blows a great big wind across the sea, and the sea parts like this, and God's people can walk in dry land across to the other side. And then when the Egyptians go in, their chariots get stuck in the mud, God stops the wind, and boom, the water collapses on top of them. So 3 quick fire stories. What have they all got in common? How God moved the water and made land at the beginning, how He sent a wind, moved the Red Sea so the Israelites can cross, and then thirdly, our third story is the story of Jonah. Now God said to Jonah, Jonah, I want you to go to Nineveh. God said go, and Jonah said, no way. And rather than go to Nineveh, he jumped in a boat, going completely the other way. And as he was sailing, God sent a great big storm on the boat. And all the sailors were thinking, well, whose fault is it? It's not my fault, it's not my fault. Eventually they realised it was Jonah's fault, because Jonah was running away from God. And Jonah said, throw me into the sea and God will stop the storm. And that's just what happened. They threw Jonah into the sea. The storm stopped just like that. And you probably know the story. God sent a big fish, swallowed up Jonah, rescued him, and eventually he went to Nineveh. But for now, what do these 3 stories all have in common? They've all got, water. They've all got water. But all the stories show us something about how God has got power over wind and water. And that's important for us to think about. Because at the moment in Discoveries, we're thinking about 5 P words, and our P word for this week is person. Isn't it? Who is Jesus? Have you ever played the Guess Who game? I know I've played it before. Our kids have got it. We play it from time to time. And in the Guess Who game, you're trying to look at different qualities. Now, what kind of eyes has somebody got? How much hair or otherwise have they got? And you're trying to work out, who is the person? And this evening, we're going to think about, who is this person, Jesus? And to do so, we're going to have one last story. And it starts with this. It starts with Jesus and the disciples getting into a boat. So I want you to imagine you're in a boat, okay? Grace Anderson, sit still, or else you're going to rock the boat too much. And Jesus says to his disciples, let's go over to the other side. So you need your hands out, they're going to do a bit of rowing on it. Mia, you need to row a bit harder, or else the boat's going to go round in circles, okay? Okay, just like that. And as they're rowing across, the wind starts to get a bit stronger. But it's not too bad. And maybe it's the rocking of the boat. Or maybe Jesus was just really tired. But he fell asleep on the bottom of the boat. Keep rowing. And as they go out across the lake, suddenly the waves are getting bigger, the wind is getting stronger, and the rain starts coming down, and a great big storm comes across, and the boat's gone. And the disciples, some of whom were fishermen who would have been used to being in boats and big storms, they thought their boat was going to drown. What should they do? Well, they wake up Jesus. They say, Jesus, don't you care if we drown? Does Jesus care? Of course he cares. And the next thing he does is amazing. The Bible tells us that he stood up and he told off the wind and the waves. He said, "Be quiet, be still." And they stopped just like that. Just by speaking, the wind and the waves stopped. That's interesting. And the disciples, they asked themselves, "Who is this man? Even the wind and the waves obey him." Now let's have a think about this. What did we learn just now? God has power over the wind and the water. What have we just seen in this story of Jesus? He has got power over the wind and the waves. He can stop them just by speaking. And that tells us that Jesus, who is he? Well, we don't need to guess because we can tell. Jesus is God. And what does that mean for us? Well, it means this. When the disciples woke up Jesus said, "Master, don't you care if we drown?" He said to them this, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" You see, we can put our faith in Jesus because he is God. He's got power over the wind and the waves. He's got the power to save you, to look after you, and to provide for you. So whenever you're not sure, who is Jesus? Who is this person? Remember this. Remember the day he told off the wind and the waves and they stopped. Just like that. And you can put your faith and your trust in him. Well, Simon, it's back to you. And boys and girls, I'll see you in Dennis time in a couple of weeks' time. Goodbye from me, and Simon, over to you.
Let's meet Jesus, God's one and only Son. He came to earth to save us, each and every one. Jesus, our King, the very best indeed. One time he rode into the town, sitting on a donkey. Into Jerusalem for all to see. People cheered and celebrated, waving palm tree leaves, shouting Hosanna, for the King had come that day. It's Jesus from Nazareth of Galilee. He did amazing things, too many to count. Let's all sing it, dance and shout. He did amazing things, too many to count. Let's all sing it, shout it out. Not long after that, Jesus was crucified. He gave himself up on a cross, and then he died. But 3 days later, he rose from that grave. His tomb is empty, and our sins he forgave. He's risen, he is alive. Our Savior, our friend, our King Jesus is A-OK. And now we celebrate Jesus, our risen King, who came to save us, and for this we sing. He did amazing things, too many to count. Let's all sing it, dance and shout. He did amazing things, too many to count. Let's all sing it, shout it out. He did amazing things, too many to count. Let's all sing it, dance and shout. He did amazing things, too many to count. Let's all sing it, shout it out.
Thank you, Steve, for your dentist time. It's always a pleasure to see you and hear what you've got to say. Thank you for looking at this next P for us, person of Jesus Christ. We've still got dench time coming up, so Sarah is going to be talking to us in a few minutes. We've got some songs. How about the quiz? How did you do? A couple of tricky ones in there, wasn't there? But maybe you beat your brother or sister, or even your mum and dad as well at that quiz. You might even be able to go back and have a look at it and see which ones you can do again. Well, we've got the second part of this episode coming up, and I say we've got dench time next. We've got a video to show you as well, that'll help us out looking at this P, the person of Christ, Jesus as well, and more songs. So let's get on with it, and I'll see you back here in just a few minutes.
Hello boys and girls, welcome to Discoverers this week. Today we're going to look at the baptism of Jesus. So, John the Baptist, he was baptizing people in a river in Galilee, and Jesus comes along and wants to be baptized. So, John the Baptist baptizes him in the river when he goes under the water, and when he comes back out of the water, the Spirit of God descended on Jesus like a dove. I know this is a duck, but let's pretend. Descended on Jesus like a dove, and said, then a loud voice from heaven said, "This is my Son, in whom I am well pleased." So, this is saying Jesus is the Son of God, and let's not let John the Baptist drown. This is Jesus is God's Son. This was right at the start of his starting to do Jesus' miracles.
It's time for a Bible story. This is the story of Jesus.
Awesome. I love this story. But wait, are we going to tell the entire story? Like from when he was born and everything? I don't know if we have time for all of that. I got a haircut later.
No, we're not going to start when he was a baby. We'll pick it up a little after that.
Okay, so like teenage Jesus.
A little older. When Jesus was about 30 years old, he started his ministry.
Cool. Wait, what does that mean exactly?
That means he started teaching people about God, preaching the good news, and doing miracles.
Gotcha.
He traveled around all over the place, helping people everywhere he went. All day, every day, he taught, healed, gave, served, prayed for, and rescued people.
Whoa. Slow down. You can't just blaze through that fast. Like, what kind of stuff are you talking about?
Well, just to name a few, he healed lots of people that were sick, like a blind man that had never opened his eyes. Jesus healed him and he could see. Or another man that was crippled and couldn't walk. With the word, Jesus healed his body and the man got up and started dancing. Over and over and over, Jesus came across people that were hurting and sick, even ones that thought they would never get better, and Jesus restored them back to perfect health.
Whoa, that's awesome. So he just healed people.
No way. He did tons of other miracles for people. He took a little bit of food and multiplied it into enough to feed thousands of people. He walked on water and calmed a huge storm by speaking to it. He cast out demons from people, and he even raised people from the dead.
Man, that's amazing. So that's all he did, huh? I mean, that's still pretty impressive.
Actually, that's not even close to everything he did. The Bible says that Jesus did so many miracles and helped so many people that if you were to write down everything he did, you couldn't fit enough books on earth to contain it.
Good grief. You're like exploding my mind right now. Jesus did that much for people?
You bet. When we look at Jesus' time on earth, we see someone that didn't just tell people that he loved them. He didn't just think it, he showed them that he loved them by what he did. He didn't pass someone up just because he wasn't feeling it that day. He didn't heal people begrudgingly. He didn't look down on anyone that was in need. His attitude and his actions show us what he cared about. And the one thing that was always on his mind.
Ooh, let me guess. Hot Pockets.
What?
Yeah, like he's always thinking about him, like wishing he was heating one up, getting that cheese to bubble up like a little orange volcano.
No, it wasn't Hot Pockets.
Oh, wait a minute, sorry, I'm thinking of me. Hot Pockets are always on my mind. Scratch that, let me try again.
I was gonna say there was one thing always on Jesus' mind.
Loving people.
There you go. Even when it sometimes wasn't all that easy, Jesus still did everything he could to help people.
Hold on, what do you mean wasn't always easy? Like, isn't this Jesus we're talking about? He's like the ultimate incredible can-do-anything superhero of all time.
That's true, but when he was on earth, he was still a man, which meant he got tired and hungry and felt everything any other person felt. And that makes his story even more amazing because he never let those things get in the way of doing what he did.
Loving people.
Exactly. Traveling and teaching all the time was exhausting. One time he even slept on a boat in the middle of a huge storm. That's how physically demanding it was to do what he did.
Man, that is some serious sleepiness. I bet his disciples had to use like 100 alarm clocks to help him wake up in the morning.
Well, I don't know about that. No matter how tired he was, where he was, or who came up to him asking for help, Jesus was 100% all in for showing people he loved them with his attitude and actions.
Man, that is totally stinking awesome.
And after years of traveling around like that, helping, healing, and teaching people, the time came for him to do the ultimate act of love. He gave his life. Jesus loved us so much that he took the punishment that people deserved and died on the cross for our sin.
Man, talk about an amazing life. But that's not how the story ends, right? I mean, it can't just be over just like that.
Of course not. After 3 days, Jesus rose from the dead and he's alive today.
Oh, like right now?
You bet. Jesus conquered sin and he defeated death. And that's the most amazing thing of all that shows us how much he loves people. Because of what Jesus did on the cross, we can be a part of God's family and know him like never before.
Man, you weren't kidding when you said that everything Jesus did was about loving people.
Totally. But here's the thing. There's one more part to this story. After Jesus rose from the dead, he visited his disciples and gave them a very important command.
Go and heat up some Hot Pockets. No. But save one for me because I'm super hungry.
No, he told them to follow his example and be just like him. Jesus said to go into all the world and share the good news, to love people like he did.
But was that just for the disciples back then, though?
No way. The Bible tells us to do the very same thing today. Jesus' life is a perfect example of what our life should look like and what we should do. We should love people like he did, but not just think it or talk about it. Go and do something.
Right. How'd you say it? What was that thing you were saying? Our apple dudes and axes?
Close. Our attitude and actions are how we show people the love of Jesus. And when we go into the world around us and love people, we're showing them Jesus.
Awesome. But wait, quick question. Hold on. Does sharing Jesus with other people mean I have to do anything weird? I don't have to stand up on the lunch table at school with a megaphone and start yelling at everybody, do I?
Nope.
Okay, cool, because I'm homeschooled, so I just be yelling at my mom, and I don't think she'd like that.
It's super simple. Just do things the way Jesus would do them. When you love others and go out of your way to care for them, that's showing them Jesus. See how that works?
So when a kid at school doesn't have very much food at lunch, I could share some of mine, and that would be showing him Jesus.
Yep.
Gotcha. Or if my mom tells me to clean my room and I do it without throwing a fit and make sure I do a good job, that's showing her Jesus too? Okay, all right, I'm getting it now.
Great.
I'm catching your drift.
What?
I'm cashing what you're checking.
Stop.
I'm snacking what you're packing.
All right, that's enough. Just remember, as you go through the journey of your life, you can always share the good news with the people around you, just like Jesus did, with your attitude and your actions.
Can I do one more?
Sure.
I'm itching what you're scratching. Okay, I'm done.
The end.
Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. He is higher than a skyscraper, and He's deeper than a submarine. He is wider than the universe and beyond my wildest dreams. And He's known me and He's loved me since before the world began. How wonderful to be a part of God's amazing plan. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. He is higher than a skyscraper and deeper than a submarine. He is wider than the universe and beyond my wildest dreams. And He's known me and He's loved me since before the world began. How wonderful to be a part of God's amazing plan. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. 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 And He holds us in His hands.
So there we are already, boys and girls. We've come to the end of today's Discoverers at Home. Really looking forward to next week already, and we'll be on our next P. So we've had power, we've had person, and so next week it's going to be about provision. Does God provide? And if He does, how does He do that? Well, I'm sure we do know the answer to that already. Yes, he does. So it's going to be interesting, isn't it, to look and find out how great God's provision is for each and every one of us. Well, thank you again, Steve. Thank you, Sarah. There might even be another quiz in the next couple of weeks as well. So get that brain power working as well, that knowledge of the Bible and things like that. Hope you've been enjoying as well the songs that we've been singing, a couple of new ones coming through over the last couple of weeks as well. They've been really good, haven't they? So, boys and girls, it is time to say goodbye. I hope you stay safe at home, and praying for you all. And thank you again for joining us, and we will see you next week. So it's tally hoes and toodle pips.